I became everything in the life review. I became the trees, I became the birds, I became the stones. So I automatically left my body and I saw my body and I went into the portal. And as I went into the portal, into the light, I saw all my welcome committee, which was like all my family members that were on the other side.
Hello, kia ora. Welcome back. This is the Let's Talk Near Death podcast. We are in season 17. If you've been enjoying the episode so far, I would love it if you could give a like, a subscribe, leave a comment, share with a friend. It all helps in the long run, and I don't ask this very often, so just a little reminder that you can help me to get more episodes out and to have more conversations with more amazing people. Today, my guest is Rafael Garcia. We are going to be chatting about a lot of different topics. I can feel it already. He is all about reincarnation. He's had an incredible experience where he was out of his body. He talks about astral travel. He talks about life, death, definitely the experiences in between. I'm going to leave it for him to give a full description of everything he's working on, what he's doing, his experiences to date. So let's get straight into this conversation. So Rafael, welcome along to the Let's Talk Near Death podcast.
Oh, thank you, Christian. Thank you so much.
How do we begin with your story? It seems like there's been so much going on for you. Where do we start in this conversation?
For me, my whole life I've been able to see spirits. So that's something that I've been used to seeing grandma, grandpa, cousins, or whatever, whoever had passed away, they've come to see me. So that's something that I kind of been used to my whole life. So my dad would used to talk about a lot too. My dad had all the time seen spirits. So he was always, sharing stories about all the spirits he saw and everything. So, and a lot of my aunts too, we're from Mexico, from, Native Americans. So I don't know. I mean, it was just like, that was just kind of common that we would talk about spirits. So.
I kind of love that. I love just how normal it is to be talking about these topics in your family.
It made it kind of feel comfortable and having all these experiences good. Because, I've gone through a lot of different experiences. Besides my near-death experience, then after that, I've gone through my different spiritual transformative experiences, like out-of-body experiences, astral projection. And I think it's part of the journey that for me, it used to be comfortable in the space of, seeing spirits in the afterlife.
Yeah, wow. I mean, there's not a lot of people who say, I'm just really comfortable with all of that. So going back to your experience, you were seeing spirits since you're quite young. All of this was quite normal for you. How did that then lead into your own spiritual experience?
So I was, one time I was in my room and I was asleep. And then all of a sudden I felt like someone, someone was coming in or some energy that was coming in. And so I woke up and I thought it was going to be a spirit because it would happen a lot sometimes if I was asleep. And then all of a sudden I woke up and, there was grandma or there was like an angel or so I'm like, okay, it's time to wake up. And somebody came to visit. But this time when I woke up, I didn't see a spirit. And then all of a sudden I felt like a cloud above me that came in. And at that point, at that second, I knew it was like, it was coming from my soul. Like it was time to go. And then, and at that second, I was like, it's just kind of like in shock a little bit. I'm like, okay, now it's time to go. Like at that moment. And then from there, I saw like a light. But for me, the light it was like a portal. That's the way I came to understand it. So when that light opened up, it's a portal to the next dimension or to the next realm, so to the afterlife. So, and again, it's this intense, overwhelming love, right? That it's just, you can't even describe it in words. Everybody, we know it's just automatically, all I wanted to do was go in. I didn't even question it. It's not like, I don't want to go in. It's like, let me go in. So I automatically left my body and I saw my body and I went into the portal. And as I went into the portal, into the light, I saw all my welcome committee, which was like all my family members that were on the other side. And they were all there and, they were like so happy and they were laughing and they're like, yeah, welcome. And they couldn't wait to hold me. And they were all cuddling me and they were all laughing and they were so, so happy. Like it was like the happiest day of their life. at that moment. And actually, later on, I had an experience. Like I want to share this too because I normally don't share it too much. But later on, besides this ND, I had an experience like about maybe 5 years later. I had an experience where a friend of mine, I had this. I went into the. I actually ended up being in the afterlife. So I had this spiritual transformer experience where I was actually already a spirit. So I was already on the other side. And then I saw how a friend of mine, she was going to, like, I was in the spirit world, and I was like in schools, there was like classrooms, and I was like in my classroom, and there was different souls, and we were like talking, and they were looking at our books, and there was like a teacher there, like talking about the universe, and then at that point, I remember feeling like, oh, she's going to pass away. My friend of mine from Earth, like it was her time to pass away. And I remember I was like, I'll be right back. I have to go welcome my friend. And I remember flying, and there's different dimensions, different like realms, different dimensions. And I remember flying from my realm, my school. And I remember just flying to her space where she was going to pass over. And then I saw many other souls flying too, going to greet her, like her mom, her brothers, different family members from the afterlife, the different realms, different dimensions. I just saw them like, like they're all flying to her space, So then we all met there. And then I saw her mom, and I saw her brothers, and then we were all like laughing. And then it was like from the other side, like the perspective when someone in the welcome committee, it's like birth. Like, like here, like you go to a hospital and the baby's being born, like everybody like, oh my God, the baby. It was kind of like that, like, so being a welcome committee on the other side, the spirit that comes and welcomes the souls that are dying, like on the other side, it was the happiest and most joyful feeling I have ever had in all my life. Even out of all my experiences, all my out of body experiences, all my this was like, I would say the peak of the joy that I felt is the spirits that come and welcome the souls that are passing away. That was just incredible, and that experience helped me tremendously when later on my father and my grandma passed away, like one day apart. And then I remember in their funeral, I couldn't be sad. I was just like so happy because I knew where they were. Like I knew that my dad's mom, my grandma, she went to greet him, and so I saw how all the souls come to greet all the souls that are passing away. So I wanted to share that with your audience because I normally don't share this experience that I've been a welcome committee myself, and that experience was just incredible.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for sharing that. It's just, it touches a personal note for me because as you're talking, not only am I thinking a whole lot about reincarnation and about the welcoming team, and I think they all overlap in this conversation, but for me in my own near-death experience, when I was there was the white light, there was, I'm going to say, a team of beings. Now, I use the word beings quite lightly because I wasn't able to see any of their features. They were there and they were laughing and cheering and clapping, and it was like almost like there were these waves of happiness and joy, and it was just amazing. And I felt like they were there just for me, and it was incredible. So as you're talking, it's almost like I'm reliving a little bit of that. And I think it's so, so cool. I think this does come into everything you're saying. It's all about the same experience. So yeah, thank you for sharing something that you don't normally share. And as always, I want to talk everything about every topic. I'm aware we're here for your experience. So let's go and chat about your experience and then possibly come back to this beautiful part of the conversation.
Yeah, so so anyway, so I was like, I was all greeted by everybody. Everybody was just so happy and joyful and hugging me and laughing, and I was just like, okay, good. And then after a little while, they're like, okay, well, we'll see you later. And then I just saw them fly away, kind of like disappear, go into their schools, to their realms, to their soul groups, to their dimension, and then I was like, okay, good. And then after that, my grandpa was like, you gotta go over there, and like that's like that you gotta go to that room. It was like a chamber of light with a dome. And then it's like, yeah, you gotta go over there now. Like I'm like, and then you gotta go meet the council. And I was like, okay. and then my grandpa's like, yeah, we'll see you later. I was like, okay, grandpa, thank you. And then I went. So then I saw the chamber, and it was just like a chamber, like in a dome of light. It was transparent, but I couldn't really see through it. It was kind of like just light, but it was like marble light, but I really couldn't see it through. But I knew like it was just full of light, and it was like a dome. And then there was like a door though, so I was like, okay, and then it was just radiating love. It's not like, oh my God, I don't want to go in there. It was like, oh my God, let me go check it out. What's going on in there? And then as I entered the dome, the chamber, I see the council light, and they're like just beings of light, right? Like kind of like ascended masters or just angels or just high beings, and then there were 12 of them. I saw 12 beings, and then they were all like, oh, and they, I don't know, it's like they see you like they saw me like a little kid, like it's like a little kid coming from kindergarten, like, hey, come on, welcome, like all this love, it's like, oh, okay, and then they're like, yeah, you did great, like, how was it? How was your life? And I was like, yeah, it was fun. I had a good time. They're like, oh, we're happy to hear, and then they're like we want to show you what your life. This is like your life review, so we'll show you like a little movie. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And then that's where the life review came in, right? And then at that point when they showed me the life review, it was like just like a projection all over the dome, and then like holograms, and then as I go into the life review, I came to understand that they told me that basically we're here to learn lessons, that we're here to master lessons, that the ultimate goal for all of us is to basically to master the universal lessons that has been said, that we set on this journey to, through lifetime after lifetime, that we have to master. It's like the virtues. So, like unconditional love, compassion, integrity, honesty, patience, respect, forgiveness. I mean, those are like the forgiveness is like the hard ones, the letting go, of attachments. That's what, and I came to understand that was probably the most important one, is the letting go of attachments, of of experiences that have been hurtful for us or whatever, that we hold on to, that ultimately is about letting go, and those attachments that we hold on to, that ultimately that was the ultimate lesson. But then they show me, so you're here to, and each one of those councils represented one of those lessons. You see what I'm saying? So yeah. That's how I understand. So, and then they show me, for example, this part of my life, this life review where, I show kindness. I was helping old lady cross the street, and then like, please let me help you cross the street. And then I hold her, and I cross the street with her, and I'm talking to her, and I'm smiling, and I'm laughing, and then so they show me that, and when they show me that, this one of those beings kind of like lit up, and then kind of like said, like, yeah, this is where you show this trait or this lesson of compassion or kindness, So and then it was like a very like in a space of just kind of being very grateful that I was able to do that. And, like, it's like, so then it was like, oh, you did amazing. Like, and then another part of the life. Oh, and then I also became, this is kind of like also the thing with the life reviews. Then I became the old lady.
Oh, is she's crossing the street?
Yeah, I became her, right? So, because that's the thing in the life review, you kind of become everyone in the life review. So then as I became the old lady, I see this happy guy laughing and saying, hey, let me help you. And then, so then I'm like, so then I became the old lady, and then I'm seeing how, and then, so yeah, you actually do become everyone and everything. And then actually, I even took it further where I became everything in the life review. I became the trees, I became the birds, I became the stones, I became everything. Like, it was like, from that perspective, it was really like profound, because I was like the tree, like, looking at me, Rafael, and the lady, and just like, wow, appreciating Rafael, and oh, he's showing kindness to this old lady crossing the street. That's beautiful. And the rock too, like, oh, good job. Like, it was like mind blowing. Like, everything was alive, and everything was like kind of like just appraising me and saying like, good job. So that was pretty profound too. Like, it's not just other people that you kind of like become in the life review, but you actually become. I became everything in the life review, and the birds and everything, and then I saw too how our actions or whatever we do or say, whatever, like, it has a ripple effect. And then I saw how the ripple effect had on that lady, when she went home, and then, she told her daughter, right? And then her daughter was really happy to hear that someone was nice to her. And then she was really happy that had a ripple effect in her marriage with her husband. And then, and then with the kids, how they had that ripple effect with the kids and the kids at school. And, it was like this ripple effect that from my action that I did something kind, and then, so then they got to show me then basically different parts of the life review where, where I was showing patience, where I was showing integrity, honesty, right? We all make mistakes, and I apologize. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, and so then, the forgiveness, so different scenarios where basically I came to see that they say, yes, ultimately the goal is for you, the goal for everyone is to become ascended masters, or to become one with us. So like the ultimate. So as an ascended master is basically someone that's able to master all these lessons, and that basically that's why we keep coming over and over and over. It's to master the lessons, So and then from there they said that ultimately the goal is to become one with the Council of Light. So I was kind of like shown how I became a Council of Light. That once we graduate from the cycle of reincarnation and become ascended masters, I become a council. So they show me there was like a chair saying like, you will take this chair, when you're done. Like, this is you. They told me we are actually you. We're just a fraction of you. Like the Council of Light, it's just us. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's our higher self in the fifth dimension, for example. So it's just like the ultimate, once you become an ascended master, once you finish the cycle of reincarnation, you become a Council of Light yourself. And then that was the first time too that they showed me the cycle of reincarnation. So they showed me all of a sudden they're like, we'll want to show you that there's reincarnation. That because I think before I heard about it, but I didn't know what to believe or not. It was like, I'm like, it was like it sounds cool, but I don't know. It was, but in this experience, the Council of Light showed me. They showed me like in a hologram. I got to see a circle, like a cycle, with like thousands of lifetimes. And then I saw that I still had 6 more lifetimes to complete the cycle. And then they said, yeah, you done great. You have a couple more lifetimes. And then they said, like, ultimately the goal is to basically, to complete the whole cycle. And then that's when once you complete the cycle, then that's when you are able to graduate from the cycle of reincarnation. But that ultimately the main message was that they were here to learn that this is all school. Oh, and then I came to understand that in that space, when they were showing me the life review, I got to see that the realization that it had all been a dream, like this life, the life they were showing me, it was just a dream or an illusion or a simulation. So that was the first time I ever came to that realization. And that's why people talk about the Maya, the illusion, that we're living in a dream. In that space where I was shown the life review with the Council of Light, I came to realize that, I was like, God, that was a dream. Like, that was just a simulation. Like, they're like, yeah, it was just a simulation. It was just a dream. It's a school. That's all really it is. It's a school for the opportunity to learn these lessons and to go through the experiences. And it's kind of hard to say because in one side it's real. The experience in itself is real. When you're in this avatar body, it's real. But in that higher dimensions realms, you come to see it as a dream or as an illusion. And as a lucid dream, so, and that's why I think it's called also awakening. You awaken, you realize it's all a dream. And then from there, so then from there, they're like, okay, so they told me that basically the lessons and that, that ultimately we're here to become ascended masters and all this. And then from that point, I came to, they showed me then what it's like to complete the whole cycle. And as I completed the cycle, I became basically one with my higher self. And I became, like whatever, once you come one with your higher self, and then like an ascended master or whatever. But as I became this, we become liberated from the suffering, the will of suffering, all this stuff. But that was like you graduate, So as I graduated, I remember too how they show me like within every lifetime. It's kind of weird because I came to understand that all lifetimes are happening simultaneously.
I was going to ask you about this. Yeah.
Yeah. So you come to realize. And then, but at the same time, it's like there was like a linear evolution of it, in one sense, because it has to, it records your progress in one way. Because I saw that as it went across, like as it went around in a circle, it was like supposedly one lifetime after lifetime, or I kept evolving, growing and growing and growing. There was more light in my heart. So in every lifetime until I completed the cycle, and then it kind of like just exploded in my heart. But then they showed me that basically, I was also shown my higher self in the fifth dimension, and I was able to see, like thousands of bubbles. Like the bubbles were like the lives, the different lives, and they were like in a bubble of light. And then I saw screens or simulations in those bubbles, and then I became one with my higher self. So I became this being of light, and then I saw like all these thousands of lifetimes around me in a circle. And then at that point, I realized like, wow, that's when I came to also realize like they're all happening really at the same time. But at the same time, they're happening at different frequencies. And then at that, but there was that kind of like evolution at the same time, so that we can graduate and see the progress. You see what I'm saying? And what in the lower dimensions, the 3D, maybe that's how you see it as reincarnation. But as you go up, you can see it all, that it's all really happening at the same time. And then from that point, I was actually also able to quantum jump into a couple of my different lifetimes. So as I became my higher self, I was able to then like travel in a wormhole. And then as I would travel in a wormhole, I went into one of those bubbles. And then as I went into one of those bubbles, I remember traveling like a comet. And as I went into the light, I was traveling like my spirit was traveling like a comet. And then I go in, and then I see the land, and then I see like Scandinavia, and I see Sweden, and then I go in this little village, and then I see this. I go into this house, and my spirit this is my spirit, like my soul going in there. And as I go in there, I see this man with his kids, his baby, and his wife, and then I go inside him, and then I realize that was me in this lifetime as a Viking. and then I can't, but it was for like a second. But I remember like I went into the Viking, and I'm holding a baby. And I'm seeing my wife walking around and my kids, and I'm like, geez, like, oh my God, like, what's going on? And I'm in this lifetime. And then they're just like laughing. My kids are laughing. And then I get pulled out, out of that matrix. And then, so then I was able to go to a couple of different lifetimes, like in Greece, where I was like some philosopher talking in the Senate or something. And then I see this man talking. And then all of a sudden I go inside the guy, and I stopped talking because I'm like, oh my God, this is Rafael. But all of a sudden I'm in this, other lifetime, this avatar that is this Greek man talking, and then I'd get pulled out again, boom. And then, so it's kind of like that, a couple of different lifetimes that I was able to quantum jump. And then, so then from there, then three beings of light came in that chamber of light. And they said, hey, so then as they show me this, that I completed the cycle, that I graduated, then they said, these three beings of light came, and they were like my parents in the afterlife. They were like really advanced beings, like, I don't know, 9th dimensional beings, or, like really high beings. And then they said, hey, congratulations. We want to show you what comes next after you all complete the cycle of reincarnation, because there is more. It's not the end. And then I compared myself to them. Like, I felt like I was graduating from kindergarten. All of a sudden, at first, I felt like I was an ascended master, a fifth dimensional being. But then it was like, oh my God, like I'm just kindergarten compared to these guys. These guys, my parents are like super advanced. So it was kind of, I think it was just to understand that there was different dimensions, different levels. And so anyway, after they came and they said, yeah, you did great. And then the council was like, yeah, they're going to take you now to show you what comes next. So I was like, okay. And then from there, we walked out of that chamber of the dome. As we walked out of there was the door. And I walked up with these three beings and these higher dimensional beings. And then as we walk out, then I was like, wait a minute. Then I realized, I looked back at that dome, and I realized that dome had been our universe. And I was like, God, that was our universe? Like, I'm like, whoa, that was crazy. And then they're like, yeah. Then they're like, yeah, it's okay. And then there was other universes or schools, or domes. They were not that. I mean, it's all perspective, right? Because they were not that big, but I mean, it's like, I don't know, like the size of a house, but there were universes. And then they're like, okay, in that universe, there's other schools, like, because once you finish the cycle of reincarnation, there's all these other schools you can go to and the other universes. So like in that school over there, in that universe, that was like the avatar universe, where you become like a fifth dimensional being. and then you can start incarnating in different planets with like more advanced abilities. Like, like everybody there has this telepathic, teleportation, telekinesis. I mean, all that is like normal. It's in those civilizations, so maybe like the Lyrians, the Arcturians, or other civilizations that are more advanced. Then you incarnate in those other civilizations with more advanced abilities, and then you're like you can become aware of your, maybe, like, let's say you have 1,000 lifetimes, but you can be aware of all of them at the same time in that level. So that's like the Ascended Master level, the Avatar levels, and then there's levels within that universe too, like in schools, right? I mean, it's like, so then I saw that school, and I'm like, that's like a cool school. Oh, wow, yeah, I like that school. That sounds like a cool school. And then there was another school, and that was like the Akashic Record school to become a record keeper of the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records, there's levels too. There's like, because there's Akashic Records everywhere, from the stars, from the galaxies, from the universe, from the multiverse. So there's different levels where everything gets stored. And then so then that's another school if you want to become more like a librarian of the cosmos. And I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. And then there was another school where you get to become like a creator. And then that's where you start creating planets. You can start creating stars. You can start creating galaxies, and versus.
That's cool, eh?
That's pretty good. And I'm like, I kind of like that one, right?
I find it ironic that here in like our physical earthly realm, education is the basis. Like, we start our life, we go to school quite young. It's all about formal education. And I'm not somebody who really rates education. Maybe that's bad to say. I rate learning. I think learning's very important. I think gaining experience is very important, and pursuing things which we could be curious about and know more about. But formal education, going through the ropes, here in this world, it can seem quite heavy. It can seem like something that we don't want to do. You always hear about kids not wanting to go to school, and they're bored and they don't like school. And yet you're talking about these, I'm going to use the word heavenly just to put a name on it. I know that's not the right word, but these outer realm experiences where it's all about learning. You're talking about classrooms, you're talking about different things and different elements and how we create. Because, I kind of do think education is about creation as well, because everything we learn, we do something with, which creates something. But I'm just seeing the irony right now of the thing we don't really love here on Earth is the thing that so many experiences tell me is what we do when we leave. And it's all about learning. It's all about the education from the spiritual sense. And I find that quite ironic. But creation is very, very important. So I love that you've touched on that. It's exciting to think about what we might do after this world.
Yeah, I can tell you about all the dimensions, like, if you want to as well. Like, where I got to see how there's all these 12 dimensions of evolution that we all get to evolve, and then so then they show me and then they show me that there's all these different dimensions or soul groups, right? Like, that we get to evolve. So the way I get to experience it is like, the way I experience it, it's a little similar to then what I later came to realize what they call the raw material. A little similar, but in a different. Yeah, and there's a lot of people talking about the dimensions. Like I don't know, Matthias, or there's a lot of different people. More and more people are going to be talking about the different dimensions. But the way I myself personally experience is that we get to evolve in all these different dimensions, and we get to become all, like everything. So in dimension one, or realm one, what I got to experience was like the quantum realm. And then I got to see myself as in the quantum realm as an atom. So I became an atom. And then I actually did become an atom, So as they showed me then, like, okay, this is what you are. This is the different evolutions of the souls that they evolve in these different levels or games or dimensions. And then I went into one, and then I became, as I went into that first dimension, I went into the quantum realm, and then I became the atom itself. And then as I became the atom, I remember it was something really incredible too, because I remember being the nucleus of the atom, and then seeing all the electrons and everything. But then I saw normally to say all this, there's like all this empty space in the atom. I didn't see empty. It was full of millions of symbols, of like symbols that look kind of like in the movie The Matrix. Because I've seen a lot of the symbols in the, and then I remember just seeing like thousands or millions of symbols just flying everywhere in the atom. But it was all the symbols, and I was like, wow, man, this is like incredible. I'm like, yeah. I mean, people don't even know that there's like everything is symbols. Because we're living in a simulation full of symbols. But so that was kind of like, but so anyway, so you get to experience yourself as atoms, and then in the quantum realm, that's kind of how you kind of also get to understand that that's how you can time travel or quantum jump. It's all in the quantum realm that you're able to do that. But so anyway, so then that's one experience itself. You see what I'm saying? Like you get to experience yourself in the quantum realm, and then that was dimension 1, and then dimension 2 or game 2. They're like games as well. That's how I came to see them. Like okay, what's game 2? Like okay, the next game is, and that not the one is better than higher than the other one. It's just different games. And then the other game was like I saw like I became a like microorganism. I became a cell, and then you become like a plant. You become and then you become animals. And then I got to become like a tree. And then as I became the tree, I saw all the symbols inside me too as well. And then like in the Matrix, so, and then I became a tree, and then I became animals. And then, so then that was the second dimension, the second realm of experience, so I became, like an ant. I became a cat, just everything. You actually do become kind of like everything. And then, I became the animals. And then from there, like it was like dimension 3 was kind of like human, becoming the human, having the human experience, duality, linear time, all this stuff. And then now we're entering the 4th dimension. And then now humanity is actually we're going into the 4th dimension as a collective. Many of us are already there because all these topics about NDEs or out-of-body experiences, astral projection, parallel lives, that's the 4th dimension already. But, but as a collective, we are also entering this 4th dimension. That the end of the Maya calendar is the end of the 3D game. We're entering the 4th dimension. That's really what's happening. So then the 4th dimension, basically what I came to understand is basically where time collapses. And that's basically where all your lifetimes are happening. Our lifetimes are happening in the 4th dimension. And that's where, in parallel universes or just their parallel lives are happening next to each other. So that's in the 4th dimension. And then also I came to understand that the 4th dimension, it's a realm or game where there's integrity, transparency, and compassion. And that ultimately, and as we're entering this new realm, this new game, anything that is not, is not based on those pillars, it's gonna collapse because the systems are about to collapse as well right now. Because they've been based on this 3D game of corruption, of greed, of lies and all this stuff, right? So that's been part of the game. It doesn't mean that it's bad, really. It's just been part of the game, yeah. So. But now that we're entering the 4th dimension, then it's going to be complete transparency. So that's why a lot of institutions or a lot of stuff is going to be revealed. There's going to be a lot of revelations coming up. So which I also saw, later on. I mean, I went into the Akashic records, and then in the Akashic records, I'll continue with the dimensions, but I just want to share this because this is relevant. After I saw the dimensions, also I went into the Akashic records. And then as I went into the Akashic records, one of the record keepers grabbed the book and gave it to me. And then as he gave me the book, it was the Book of Earth. And it was like the divine plan of the planet. And then as I opened the book, it was a holographic projection of the future of Earth. And then I saw that basically that humanity is, is going to be ascending to the 4th dimension. And that basically all the systems, I saw systems collapsing. And anything not based on transparency is going to collapse. And then I saw that basically that we were at an age of revelations, that all the truth is going to surface, so a lot of, it's going to be, a lot of turmoil, a little bit with a lot of revelations, a lot of truths coming out about governments and institutions. And but as you can see it now on TV, right, like there's everything even going on in politics, even here in the US, it's like everybody's a little bit afraid, but it's like actually it's great because it's going to be the revelations coming out. The truth is going to come out about different things, in like, I don't know, different things in the government, 9/11, or who knows, different COVID, different things. But anyway, so as all those things are revealed, then all the good things are revealed too. I saw not just the bad things, but there's a lot of good things that kind of has been hidden, from the public. For example, cures for cancer. I don't know, like, we know our DNA strands, right? They say there's all this junk DNA. It's not junk. I mean, you can act, ultimately we're going to be activating our 12 DNA strands, but I'm 100% sure that there already are like institutions or organizations doing all kinds of experiments on how to activate that DNA, so not just bad things are going to come out within the government, but then they're going to release a lot of good things. Like all of a sudden, we have cure for cancer. All of a sudden, people are going to be able to live 200 years. All of a sudden, people won't be able to age because they have, so it's going to be like, you have no idea, like the reality of humanity is going to shift like tremendously from a few years. Like it's going to be like, everybody's going to be like, what? Like shocked, like not just the bad things, but then it's like, oh yeah, now you can live, if you want, like you can live 200 years if you want. Yeah, people will want to, I guess, and I think so.
Yeah, some people will.
I think so, right? Or, you can live young for 200 years, so why not? Sure.
I'm curious with, say we are living 200 years, we're extending our lifetimes. How do you think, or do you think that has any impact into the reincarnation process? Like if we're living longer, but we're living in parallel lifetimes in theory, does it have any impact because our life here is longer? Does that change how we grow and progress through these different dimensions? Does that even make sense?
Yeah, it's okay. I think ultimately we're gonna see, like ultimately we're even gonna transcend like this whole thing. Not the transcend reincarnation, but ultimately, it's like I mean, ultimately we're gonna once we, ultimately I think the levels for us to get to that level of we're multidimensional. We don't even need to die. We're like immortal beings.
Yeah, we don't need to live or die. We're just
we won't need to
just exist.
But at the same time, you can just for like, let's say, I'm tired of being the same body for
200 years.
300 years, probably. Like, what? Let me get a new one. It's like the same jacket every day.
Yeah.
So people will want to even have a new body just because it's like, let me just get a new one, right? Or maybe some people would want to. I mean, that's later on. I think once people will be able to do that just because of their activated DNA strands or just with their level of consciousness, that or maybe people want to grow old, like I don't know what it is to grow old. Like, oh, yeah, let me try to be and grow old too. See how that, and then I'll go to another body, so it'll become the norm. But it's leading towards that. Of course, it's gonna be a little bit. It's not gonna be like that so much as far as like that we can get to that level. But I think that's kind of like where we're heading, and the whole thing too with quantum mechanics and consciousness is completely going to merge. So the whole thing with string theory, like I'm talking about the dimensions, that's going to be proven like 100%. Like, oh yeah, we live in different dimensions, so that's 4D, the fourth dimension it's the level of consciousness, and then it will be for the collective that, yeah, we're living in a construct of different dimensions. So that's going to be the new norm. Like, oh yeah, the earth is round. Well, okay, well, yeah, we're living on these dimensions. Like, yeah, of course. Like, that's going to be the norm. So the string theory, and then simulation theory, the same thing, that's going to be proven. So like, yeah, we're living a simulation. Yeah, we're living a simulation. And then parallel universe theory, that's going to be also proven, with quantum mechanics, that like you're living all these parallel lives, like we're multidimensional. Like, yeah, of course, like that's the norm, so that's where we're heading right now as a collective. We're entering the fourth dimension, which is like the level of consciousness that we're multidimensional, or there's all these parallel universes or parallel lives. And then more and more people are going to start having access to these parallel lives, like I'm sharing, and all these people are sharing in all this podcast. It's going to be more common. Like, it's like the 100 monkey effect, right? Like the more people have them, it's going to be across, right? Like more and more people are, and then it's just old souls coming down now too, because it says it's the new game, the fourth. Then there's like going to be a lot of people teaching all this stuff, and so and sharing all this stuff, and then need to prove it, right? Because they're going to prove it soon. Like okay, yeah, parallel universe is true, and then there's like. So then there's going to be a lot of teaching about quantum jumping. Oh yeah, it was, yeah. So, but I mean, it's setting the stage towards that. I mean, so that's where we're ultimately heading to. So that's the fourth dimension, and then the fifth dimension is like, that's kind of like where your level of, that's the kind of like the ascended master level, right? At the fifth dimension. So So once you're into like the fifth dimension, you're like, you kind of like already like, you completed the cycle of reincarnation. And then at that point too, like I got to see that in the fifth dimension, like you can relive all those lifetimes, like simultaneously, and be aware of them, all of them, and just understand that they were all simulations. And then, but then from there too, like even there, like at that point, you can then start exploring the collective throughout time and space. Like you can start then becoming just like a game, like, oh, I want to become whoever, Christopher Columbus or Abraham Lincoln or Einstein. Then you can actually go and become that. So then, so that's kind of like at the fifth dimension, you can start exploring yourself as the collective throughout time and space. And then from there is like, okay, that's where then you start incarnating as a fifth dimensional being in other planets or other civilizations that are already at that frequency, right? So then you maybe incarnate as an as a whatever, Arcturian, Lyrian, Palladian, or whatever, like. So then you're already at that level, and then you're like already like telepathically, and you're like and then you're like at that point too is like you start communicating with different different beings across the different planets. That's like the norm, or then different galaxies and then different universes. And so that's kind of like the fifth dimension. And that's a huge dimensional realm of evolution that you're working more of a very multidimensional level of awareness, kind of more like the Marvel movies, you become like Thor and that kind of character. Odin, or that's kind of like what those beings are, they're the fifth dimensional beings, this kind of characters with those kind of abilities. And then from there, that was the fifth dimension. And then there was the sixth dimension. And there was another dimension or game. And then that was more like the creator of planet realm. So this, for me, the sixth dimension, and I became this, these beings as well. So I became the fifth dimensional being for a second, but I kind of got a glimpse of how the dimensions work. I mean, I'm just scratching the surface, of course. This is going to be super deep, but I got to see myself as a sixth dimensional being. And as I became a sixth dimensional being, I started creating the planets. And then I started creating the planet. I created kind of like the divine plan of the planet, and then I created the algorithm of ascension within my realm, or within my matrix. So I said, okay, I'm going to create all these different dimensions so that when souls keep up, ascending in dimensions, then they can start getting more downloads. You see what I'm saying? So because then I remember creating like the Earth, and I remember creating the Earth grids, the Lee lines. And then I started creating the codes, the matrix codes. And then as souls ascend, they're getting into the fourth, fifth dimension, they start getting downloads. Then they start having access to those codes. I saw how I was, okay, I'm going to let these guys that already got a little bit more higher, I'm going to start letting them play a new game, because they're entering the fourth, fifth dimension level of consciousness. So I'm going to have them create, code, activate their own codes with their own DNA, or then they can become aware of the Lee lines, the grids, and then they can start activating grids and so that kind of stuff. But that was the sixth dimension. I became a creator of planets. And then the seventh dimension, I became a creator of stars. And then the eighth dimension, I became a creator of galaxies. The ninth dimension, I became the creator of a universe. I remember creating the universe. And then the 11, the creator of the multiverse. And then the 12, the 11 was then the source. And then the 12 was beyond source. So there's other sources with different universes. And so that's kind of like how I saw it with all the different dimensions. So I don't know if you have any questions.
Oh, yeah, so many. I feel like I almost need to be writing down what you're saying because there's so much in this. I want to be writing down what the different dimensions are and all of the stuff you've shared. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing that as I'm talking to you, and I'm just trying to be led as to where our conversation's going. But yeah, it makes sense. It's fascinating stuff, and there's just so much depth in this. I want to come back to something that you said. I'm a little bit stuck on it, and it is slightly outside what we've just been talking about. This was the concept. You talked about how you were able to go, and I think you went up to your, I believe you said Norwegian life or your Viking life, and you could go and see your family present, hold the baby, see your wife walking around, and then Greece, and you were a professor, I believe you said, and you were having a conversation. And as you experienced that, you kind of stopped and were aware of something happening. Now we're talking about reincarnation, and my brain has just gone off on a tangent here, thinking about what was going on for those lifetimes. So when you're there, you come into the body where he's holding the baby. It's still you. It's a parallel lifetime. What happens for the person who's currently in that lifetime that's their lifetime? Are they aware something happened? Because you said you were the professor in Greece and you suddenly just stopped and took it all in and then you were gone. So in terms of parallel lives, what would happen for the people that are living that lifetime? Would they be there at the same time? Maybe I've been listening to too many Glitch in the Matrix stories. I love these stories, by the way. Anything is possible. That's all I'm going to say. But I think also my question comes down to, I'm curious about what happened for both lifetimes in that lifetime, but how much control did you have? Did you feel like you could have stayed for a while, like you could have stayed and maybe held the baby in the Viking house for a little bit longer? Maybe you could have had that discussion as the Greek professor, philosopher, a little bit longer? Or were you able to control anything in this experience? Were you confined to what just happened for you? How much control do we actually have?
No, it's not. It's not like a control. I think when you get in this beginning stages of of quantum jumping and stuff, it just basically all you are is kind of like in the back seat. Like it's just kind of like you can't really control. It's more like just kind of like for a minute, becoming that person. You can't really take over. I mean, it's you. It's kind of like crazy at the same time. I think it's till you become a master that then you can just go in and it's like, it's all me anyway. So.
You said none of this really matters. It's almost like it's a dream. And I feel like this really resonates for me because I think we can take this life really, really seriously. Totally guilty, do it all the time. But I hear from experiences and I feel for myself as well that we can get really wound up in this life and think everything is so super important and everything has to be just so. And actually, at the end of the day, we hear, well, nothing really matters. None of this is real. It's all just almost like an illusion, which I don't think it is because it's very real for us living in this realm, living in this lifetime. But I think we need to pursue having fun and chasing challenges, but opening up our world to have all of these individual experiences within this big experience. And yeah, I just liked what you said about maybe none of this is even real, but let's open up, let's have fun, let's not take this life super seriously, which is really hard to do when we're here to have lessons and learn things. And like, that's quite serious business. That's our whole reason for being here. But yeah, let's have some fun.
Yeah, I think our brains is actually a time machine, or our soul. You know what I'm saying? So if
cool.
you're, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, well, your brain is a time machine. So it's just connecting to that part of your brain or to your higher consciousness, your higher self. Then you can start quantum jumping, right? Quantum jump is just to jump from one timeline to another one and go to different timelines, and then also, I'll share another one of my experiences too, that this has actually happened later on, though not necessarily when I had the ND, but later on too, like I started quantum jumping to even more lifetimes, right? And then, but then also when I lived I used to live in Cambridge in England, and then I remember being in London in the underground, and then it was like late at nighttime, I can't remember, anyway, like 10 p.m. 11. I was taking the underground down the escalators, and then all of a sudden, and again, I already had my NDE, and I already had so many. I already had endless of out-of-body experiences, astral projections, which I haven't even talked about it yet. But going out to the universe and all kinds of. I'm like already, like kind of aware of all this stuff. But as I'm in the underground taking the escalators, all of a sudden, like a giant portal opens up. And then as this giant portal opens up, I see the matrix too. Like I see like the simulations, the codes. And then all of a sudden they kind of like this, I see like this wormhole or that is like, it's a wormhole that for a different timeline. So then so I see this, I'm still like in the underground. This is like still London, this is like 2015. But then in this wormhole, as it opens up, I see the future. I go at this like I don't know, maybe 500 years to the future or a couple of hundred, but I see that there is like, I see like holograms. There's like, get your apartment in Mars and, your apartment at the moon. And like, there's all these holograms, kind of like Minority Report, like with Tom Cruise, that there's all these holograms.
Yeah.
And then I see that. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I just kind of time travel to a future timeline. And I time travel a lot too. Like I've kind of been used to time traveling my whole life too. But so then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like, okay, I just time travel to the future. And then all of a sudden, I see, then I said, yeah. And then all of a sudden I see this person out of nowhere. He like, it's like just, he all of a sudden, like I'm going down the escalators and all of a sudden up the escalators is like nobody. But all of a sudden this person appears, he like gets in the Matrix, he gets all of a sudden created and he's right there. And he's kind of like wearing some kind of like little hoodie and he's going up the escalators. And as he's going up the escalators, all of a sudden I go into his body. And as I go into his body, I realize like, and I take off the hoodie and I'm like, oh my God. And then I see Rafael. And then I see that that's me in the future lifetime. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I went back into Rafael. And then I saw that like, oh my God, that was me in the future. And then the guy in the future, me, is just smiling. So I was able to cross the timelines. And then all of a sudden the whole matrix, the whole thing disappeared. And then so I was like, wow, man, I just got to see one of my future.
Wow, that's amazing. So you could see your own parallel self in the same lifetime. Man, blows my mind. I have heard of experiences who potentially where the person has potentially a twin flame, or for some reason their soul has split in some way. And I've heard people explain to me how they've potentially seen the other part of them in the same lifetime. That blows my mind. But to think that we could go between lifetimes, it all comes back to this reincarnation piece, doesn't it? So interesting. So as you're learning about these 12 dimensions, what is actually physically happening? Physically, that's an interesting way to ask. What is happening around you? Are you aware of anything? Because you've talked about the lights, the white lights, you've talked about the welcoming committee, you've talked about the glass dome being there. Is this all taking place in the same place? Are you moving about? Are you aware of your physical body back on Earth? Where are you?
I had to step out of the dome then when I saw the dimensions, and then it was outside the dome already, and then the different universes, and then the Akashic records. That was in a different space. Different space. But yeah, but it was in the same frequency, but it was just in a different space too as well.
And were you asking what's going on? Where am I? What's happening? Am I dead? Or were you just in the process, just going with what was happening?
I was just going with it, and yeah, I was just going with it, and more in awe than anything. And I was just like, I was just fascinated to see all of it, and then I think too, like it was like the whole thing with in the Akashic records too. I remember that I when I was there, I saw. I didn't finish talking about the Akashic records, but when I saw the record keepers, and they showed me the Book of Earth, then they basically when I saw the future, that I saw the collapse of the systems. Yeah, I mean, as far as like the different, there's, and then one of the things I learned too was like that the ultimate lesson is to let go of attachments. That's how you can start quantum jumping, or that's how you can time travel. It's the attachments, because if I quantum jump into my other lifetime and I have my kids, my family, I then all of a sudden I cannot be attached to them to that lifetime, because then I won't come back as Rafael. So I sort of came to realize that the letting go of attachment, that's like the ultimate lesson that we gotta really master. And the more we can polish it and master that one, then the more you can start maybe then having access to those parallel universes or parallel lives, and then start quantum jumping, and then just realize that if you do start quantum jumping, just realize that it's just they're just the simulations. So that you don't get caught up in all that stuff.
So for your experience, how did that kind of complete itself? Did you feel like you could choose to come back, that there was an end point? Were you in any control? Did you just wake up and you're back in your body?
At that point, I remember my sister was pregnant, and I just was like, this is not the right time, And then I just felt like I wanted to say goodbye to my family and to my mom, to family, And I was like, you know what? I asked for an extension, for like a 6-month extension, or a few months. I said,
come back.
Come back. Yeah, I asked her to come back for a few months.
Negotiation skills. I've never heard that in an NDA. I try to negotiate my time.
Well, I just felt like, give me a few months and I'll come back, can I go back just to go back, for a few months and to make sure everything's going to be okay with my family. And then I'll come back, I mean, I asked for like a vacation, and then I asked for like a little vacation for a few months. And then they said, yeah, you can go back. And then I woke, then I came back to my body and I was just like, I'm like, great, I have a few months.
Yeah. So how were you living? Were you living like you were about to die soon? Were you thinking this is only a couple of months?
After that, I was like, I'm gonna leave. So then I ended up moving to Sweden because I was like, I travel a lot. I used to travel a lot, and then I lived in different places. So I was like, okay, I gotta take my last trip before I go back, So I ended up moving to Sweden for like 6 months, and then I came back, and then my nephew was born, and then I was with my family, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to go, And then I remember just one day I'm like, okay, I'm ready. So I remember going to my room and I was like, let's go. I mean, I was like, listen, I was like, couldn't wait.
Yeah.
I was like, but I was like, nothing happened. And then like for like that and nothing, then it actually, the light came again, but it was like 5 years later. And then I was living in Germany. And then, and I was just like, oh my God, man, like I asked for you guys to come for such a long time. And then they say, well, if you want to come now, you're welcome. But at that point, I realized, you know what, I'd rather stay. I don't know. I kind of wanted to stay longer, and because I kind of already knew what was waiting for me. That I was like, no, I think I'll stay for a little longer, and I want to keep traveling. And then,
did you ever wake up and think, man, that was the craziest dream? Or were you certain that this was real?
No, it's not no. It's more like that's the real world. This is the dream. I was more like,
right,
no, man, we're in the dream. No. These experiences, like they're more real than this reality. It's like they leave you a print in your soul that that it's real, 100,000,000%. You don't doubt it. So yeah, no, it's my new reality, of course.
Yeah, our reality it's quite a interesting concept. I don't even have words for it. There's so much we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And again, this topic is just so enormous. It's not just what it looks like at face value. I'm aware, Rafael, that we have covered so much today. Like I was saying earlier, I think I need to write it all down. I need to come back and listen and write down all of the different dimensions and write down so much. I'm really grateful for you sharing what you've shared with us today. Is there one overarching thing that you feel like is really important because you've given us so much? Is there one thing which is maybe the most important thing that we need to remember in this physical lifetime, in this version of whatever parallel lives we're in, this particular life? One thing that we need to focus on or remember, or I don't know, is there one big message?
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably that, to realize that, first of all, that we're immortal beings, right? That, the death doesn't really exist, that we're immortal beings going through different lifetimes. And if people lose, if they lose someone a loved one in their, it's like they're alive and they're actually, in school, or, that they keep evolving. So yeah, I would say the first thing is that we're immortal beings, all of us. So, and that they try to see life as a school, and that we're here to learn lessons, to master lessons. So ultimately, you want to become, an ascended master. You want to be able to master all these lessons, and because I have my website, Decoding Life Lessons, where I help people decode their lessons. Like, okay, I went through this experience in my life. Okay, well, remember, like this experience, try to see it from a perspective that you're with the council of light. Let's see what's the lesson, Oh, okay, because maybe this lesson I need to let go, I need to forgive. And so try to understand that all life lessons are just opportunities to improve yourself as a better human being, and as a more benevolent being, to become that ascended master, right? So I would say that, that don't try to take life too harsh or too difficult on yourself. Don't be too harsh on yourself. And just try to improve yourself as a human being. That ultimately, that's really what we're here for. This is all the school, and just try to have fun, right? Like you said.
Yeah, I'm into that bit. And it's healthy fun. It's not fun which is going to hurt other people or create drama, or I don't. It's having fun with good intentions. So I feel like I need to clarify that, because I'm always like, I want to go have all the experiences, but I don't need to know what it feels like to hurt people intentionally, or to create damage, or to do things with malice or anything like that. So having fun, not taking the world too seriously, but having a good heart behind all of those actions and decisions. Oh,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah.
That's and follow
I
your
just
dreams.
love it.
I would say follow your dreams. Like
Oh,
when we
yeah. And make dreams up as we go. Yeah. Yeah.
abs-
I believe our dream. I love that, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. Following our dreams, because I believe our dreams are there for a reason. I think they're connected to part of our purpose or our why or our time here. Follow the dreams. Go and tick them off. And if you don't have dreams, go and make some. Choose some crazy goal and go and do it and see
yeah,
what
exactly.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Like don't worry about it. Have trust, have faith, and release
Yeah.
all fear, doubts, and just go for it. Because I think that's really the most important. I think that that like that's I've always been like that in my life too. Like it's just always follow my dreams and always
Yeah.
have faith, and so I would say for people to just to follow your dreams and enjoy life. I would think that would be my probably one of the most important messages I would share with the world. So.
And I think it's healthy fun. I think it's fun where the intention behind it is pure. We're not out there, because I'm always talking about how I want to squeeze the juice out of life. I want to have all of the experiences as much as I can, but I don't need to know what it's like to intentionally hurt people or to do things which might put other people in danger, or just don't have the best interests behind the motivation for having fun. So I'm all about having the fun. I'm all about learning through experiences and pushing comfort zones, having a go at things. I love it all, but yep, just being aware that we want to leave a good mark behind. We want to have a good impression when we leave positivity, leave love, leave goodness, leave all of these beautiful things, and not pursue experiences and trying things that may upset or impact other people. I kind of just feel like I need to clarify that. I'm not quite sure why, but just saying, let's go and live full, juicy lives. Let's have the experiences. Let's have fun. Yeah, it's all good, isn't it? Rafael Garcia, thank you so, so much. You have shared so much with us. I'm still thinking about the attachment piece, that we need to let go of things, not get too attached. There is so much in this. So thank you for coming along. Thank you for sharing about your experience, the things you've learned about the dimensions. And guests who are listening, thank you for coming along and listening to this episode. I hope this makes your world a little bit better. Don't forget, you can follow the podcast. You can tell a friend about it. So many good ways to support what we're doing here. I am so grateful for all these conversations, and I appreciate you all so, so much. Thank you for everything, but Rafael in particular today, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.